Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I am Uzma Jafri. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 29th of November. India and Singapore agree to ramp up maritime and anti-militancy cooperation. Ivanka Trump in India calls for government participation in skills training. And Pope Francis calls for peace and reconciliation in Myanmar. And now for all the details. India and Singapore on Wednesday signed a pact to deepen cooperation in the maritime security domain and to further strengthen defence ties. The defence ministers of both the countries held delegation-level talks in New Delhi and reaffirmed maintaining freedom of navigation and trade.
India and Singapore on Wednesday signed an agreement to deepen cooperation in the maritime security domain and call for ensuring freedom of navigation in critical sea lanes. The two countries also resolved to boost overall defence cooperation with a particular focus on combating terrorism during wide-ranging talks between Indian Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and her Singaporean counterpart. While addressing a joint press conference, the ministers reaffirmed the importance of maintaining freedom of navigation and trade consistent with international law.
India and Singapore remain strongly committed to tackling transnational security threats, in particular the menace posed by international terrorism. The signing of a Navy-to-Navy agreement today reflects our intention and commitment to further deepen cooperative endeavours in our shared maritime domain to address mutual concerns.
Earlier in the day, the Singaporean Defence Minister was accorded a Guard of Honour at South Block, which houses India's Defence Ministry. He also paid tributes at the Flame of the Immortal Soldier or Amar Jawan Jyoti at India Gate War Memorial in the capital.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday addressed several public rallies in his home province, Gujarat. His visit to the Western province is crucial as Gujarat goes to polls later this year.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday held several public rallies in his home province, Gujarat. His visit to Gujarat is crucial as political campaigning is gaining momentum ahead of polls in the Western province later this year. He highlighted his ruling Bharatiya Janata Party's achievements and lashed out at opposition Congress Party for looting the common people with its policies. He vowed to work for the upliftment of the poor while speaking about the practicality of his new policies. The polling for the two-phase elections in Gujarat, having 180-seat assembly, will be held on December 9 and 14. The election results will be declared on December 18.
White House advisor Ivanka Trump on Wednesday said government and private sectors should join hands to create successful skill training programs. Ivanka made the remarks during an interactive session to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit being held in India's high-tech hub of Hyderabad.
Daughter and advisor to US President Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump on Wednesday said government and private sector should join hands to create successful skill training programs. Ivanka made the comments on the second day of the Global Entrepreneurship Summit 2017 being held in India's tech hub Hyderabad city. Ivanka during the event also defined technology as a great driver of entrepreneurship as it empowers women to opt a career as an option of their own choice.
You know, some of the most successful examples of skills training we've seen when we've looked across the globe at various apprenticeship opportunities are when government teams up with industry or government teams up with technical schools, community colleges, creates curriculum, and then that curriculum is taught to students, and then on the other side they get a job from a private sector employer. So really creating.
Later in the day, Ivanka visited a historic Golconda Fort in Hyderabad city. Ivanka Trump arrived in India on the invitation of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, extended during his trip to the US in June this year.
Moving on to news from Afghanistan. General John Nicholson, commander of the US forces in Afghanistan, on Tuesday said The Taliban will not win as the US forces in the country will be receiving more air power resources in the near future. His remarks come at a time when the US has intensified air raids on Taliban hideouts in the country.
Commander of the US forces in Afghanistan, General John Nicholson, on Tuesday said the US troops in the country will receive more air power resources in the near future to fight alongside Afghan soldiers against insurgents. During a meeting with Afghan officials in Afghanistan's northeastern Kunduz province, Nicholson said the Taliban will not be able to win against the US forces in the country. He also said the Washington seeks to put more pressure on Islamabad to take solid action against the militant hideouts and safe havens in Pakistan.
Get even more air power and more resources.
ما منابع بیشتر را در اینجا به دست خواهیم آورد. ما قدرت هوایی بیشتر را کسب خواهیم کرد و از همین رو می توانیم بگوییم که طالبان از راه جنگ پیروز شده نمی توانند. ما فشار بسیار مستقیم را بر پاکستان وارد می کنیم تا جلو فعالیت های هراس افغانانه را بگیرد که آنان بر افغانستان حمله نکنند.
ان شاء الله جنگ ما و مبارزه ما ادامه خواهد داشت و اونا دیگه راه ندارن، یا باید فرار کنن یا باید کشته شوند یا دیگه هیچ راهی وجود نداره.
Meanwhile, the US State Department has also said new approaches with Pakistan are being worked upon for promoting stability and reconciliation in Afghanistan. While unveiling his new war strategy for Afghanistan and South Asia in August, US President Donald Trump had lashed out at Pakistan for not doing more to tackle militancy. He had also blamed Pakistan for providing safe havens to militants.
Originated in ancient India, yoga is now practiced worldwide to gain inner peace, relieve stress and whatnot. With its increasing awareness, Afghan women too are finding sense of peace through it, breaking the taboos in a mostly conservative country.
A group of Afghan women is nowadays going through yoga training, taking deep breaths and focusing on their bodies at a new studio opened in capital Kabul. Started by an Afghan woman, Fakhriya, the yoga studio aims to help women find peace and tranquility. Fakhriya has practiced yoga for about 7 years and now wants to help other women build their self-esteem and confidence through it.
هدف ما از تأسیس یوگا سنتر ما همین بوده که ما بتونیم به زنان کمک بکنیم که اعتماد به نفسشون بالا بره و همین رقم به خود باوری برسن.
وقتی که مدیتیشن میکنی و خاصتا روی بدن خود تمرکز داری، خواه نخواه یک نوع آرامشی را برای تو به وجود میاره.
Joining yoga studios or opening one is not normal for Afghan women, but Fakhriya's self-confidence and the support of her husband has helped her in this journey. The women taking part in these yoga sessions say they too are defying the odds and breaking taboos by doing so.
Pope Francis has urged the people of Myanmar to be instruments of peace and reconciliation in their country. The pontiff made the appeal at his first public mass during his 3-day visit to the Buddhist majority country.
Pope Francis on Wednesday urged the people of Myanmar to be instruments of peace and reconciliation in their country, which is emerging from nearly 5 decades of military rule. Francis made the appeal at his first public mass since he arrived in Myanmar. While addressing the crowds, the pontiff urged people to sow the seeds of healing and reconciliation. Only about 700,000 of Myanmar's 51 million people are Catholics. Hundreds of them travelled from far and wide to see the pontiff and get registered for the mass in Yangon.
So che molti in Myanmar portano le ferite della violenza, sia visibili che invisibili. La tentazione è di rispondere a queste lezioni con una sapienza mondana che, come quella del re nella prima lettura, è profondamente viziata. Pensiamo che la cura possa venire dalla rabbia e dalla vendetta. Tuttavia, la via della vendetta non è la via di Gesù.
The Pope's visit to Myanmar comes after the country has faced global condemnation over its treatment of Rohingya Muslims. More than 600,000 Rohingyas have fled to neighbouring Bangladesh and other countries following a military crackdown in Myanmar's Rakhine province. Pope Francis will also visit Bangladesh on Thursday and is expected to meet a group of Rohingya refugees.
A plantation drive is underway in Gulmarg town of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province, where as many as 300,000 trees will be planted. The plantation drive is a step by the provincial government towards a cleaner environment for the valley.
A massive plantation drive kicked off at ski resort town of Gulmarg in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province on Tuesday. The drive has been organized by the Forest and Tourism departments of the province to restore the scenic beauty of Kashmir's one of the most visited tourist spots, as many trees were uprooted last year due to heavy snowfall. The drive is in full swing and will continue till the number of plantation reaches 300,000.
पुराने पेड़ अगर गिरते हैं तो नए पेड़ उनकी जगह लगाना बहुत ज़रूरी है। तो एक कोशिश है इंशाल्लाह आने वाले दिनों में और ज़्यादा ज़मीन पे पेड़ पौधे लगाए जाएंगे ताकि गुलमर्ग के हुस्न में इजाफा हो।
प्लांटेशन का ड्राइव स्टार्ट किया है। आज के डेट में ये मेरी गुलमर्ग में आए हैं इस हवाले को लेके कि 3 लाख पेड़ लगा दिए जाएंगे गुलमर्ग के एरिया में, पर्टिकुलर गुलमर्ग में, और उससे जाके हमारे यहाँ पे एनवायरनमेंट पे बहुत अच्छा असर पड़ेगा और टूरिज्म अट्रैक्शन भी हो सकती है।
The provincial government has declared that such initiatives will soon take place in other famous valley resorts too. Kashmir is considered as one of the best tourism destinations in India, and Gulmarg is popular for skiers and also offers other numerous adventure sports.
3 tiger cubs and their mother were welcomed at their new home at a safari park in India's central Chhattisgarh province on Tuesday. The feline family pulled huge crowds on the first day of their introduction.
A Royal Bengal tigress and her 3 cubs were introduced at a zoo in India's central Chhattisgarh province on Tuesday. The enclosure of the feline family was inaugurated by province's chief minister at Nandanvan Jungle Safari Zoo in the provincial capital Raipur city. The cubs of tigress Kishori have been named Kanha, Bijli and Chendru. They pulled huge crowds to the zoo on the day of their introduction.
6 महीने एज हो चुकी, करीब वेट जो नॉर्मल होता है वो नॉर्मल वेट है इनका, कोई अंडर मतलब प्रीमेच्योर या अंडर ग्रोथ टाइप का नहीं है, बहुत अच्छा है, डाइट वगैरह प्रॉपर है, करीब 4.5 kg मीट और ये बाकी सब चीज हो रही है, तो उस हिसाब से जो आइडियल सिचुएशन होना चाहिए किसी जू या सफारी में वही है।
India was home to an estimated 40,000 tigers at the turn of the last century, but poaching and the loss of habitat brought them to the brink of extinction. Progressive steps are being taken to save the endangered big cat. A government survey released in 2015 said India's tiger population had increased by nearly a third to 2,226, boosting conservation efforts in the country with the biggest population of the endangered big cats.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India and Singapore agree to ramp up maritime and anti-militancy cooperation. Ivanka Trump in India calls for government participation in skills training. And Pope Francis calls for peace and reconciliation in Myanmar. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.